The Atlanta Falcons spent $291 million on 3 contracts this offseason, and the player who took over their first padded practice cost them almost none of it. Left guard Matthew Bergeron signed a 4-year extension worth $96 million on Saturday, with $60 million fully guaranteed, a deal reported by Jeremy Fowler of ESPN and Mike Garafolo of NFL Network. Everything that mattered from Day 5 in Flowery Branch is here in order, with the sourcing attached, so you do not have to piece it together from 6 different beat reports. And the rookie, who kept showing up on every one of them, was drafted 79th overall. The pads came on for the first time on Monday, and the temperature of this camp changed with them. Tua Tagovailoa returned to 11-on-11 work for the first time all summer. Michael Penix Jr. put together what the beat writers in Flowery Branch called his sharpest session of camp. An undrafted rookie quarterback out of a Division II school in Minnesota has been running the first team offense for most of a week. And one more contract is still sitting unsigned inside that building, a contract that gets more expensive for Atlanta every single day it goes unsigned. Defensively, coordinator Jeff Ulbrich was back on the practice field Monday after a devastating loss in his family, and his unit answered with the most physical session of the summer. The run defense was smothering. The blitz looks came in waves. But the number that should still bother this franchise has nothing to do with Monday at all. Atlanta finished 8-9 last season and beat New Orleans 19-17 in Week 18, and that specific win is the exact reason Carolina hosted a playoff game in January instead of the Falcons. But before we get into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Falcons and all the NFL content. Can we get 500 likes on this video? Start with the quarterbacks, because that is where this camp began, and that is where it is still unsettled. Tua Tagovailoa signed a 1-year deal for the league minimum in March after Miami released him, with the Dolphins still on the hook for the bulk of his guaranteed money. He opened camp with a tight back and did nothing but individual work. On Monday, he finally took 11-on-11 snaps, roughly 3 plays worth, and he delivered what several reporters graded as the best throw of the day, a layered ball to Drake London over the leaping arms of linebacker Christian Harris. Michael Penix Jr. is a different situation, and the distinction matters. He is not cleared for full team contact work yet, which is a medical restriction and not a performance judgment. So he competed in everything else on Monday and looked the part. He opened practice with a long completion to Chris Blair and came right back with a go route touchdown that drew the loudest reaction of the morning. Remember where he was in November. He partially torn knee ligament, ended his season after week 11, and he finished 3-6 as a starter with 1,982 passing yards, 9 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. Then there is Jack Strand, and this one is genuinely hard to believe. The night before the first practice, quarterbacks coach Alex Van Pelt called the undrafted rookie from Minnesota State Moorhead and told him he would be taking the majority of first-team reps the next morning. Strand threw for 13,161 yards and 126 touchdowns in college. His answer to reporters was simply to treat those reps as if they were game reps. Atlanta signed veteran Cooper Rush on emergency notice that same week, and the two of them have carried most of the team period work since. Now flip to the defense, because Monday belonged to that side of the ball. Jeff Ulbrich returned to the field after missing the first 3 days of camp following the death of his wife Christina, who was 48. Head coach Kevin Stefanski called the situation heartbreaking when he addressed reporters. That is all the detail this deserves from a football show, but it is worth saying plainly that a locker room noticed their coordinator walking back out there, and the practice that followed was the sharpest defensive work of the summer. The unit backing him up is not a rebuild anymore. Atlanta set a franchise record with 57 sacks last season, which was 26 more than the year before, and finished 15th in yards allowed and 19th in points allowed. On Monday, with the pads finally on, Christian Harris, Maason Smith, and Chris Williams all recorded tackles for loss. Avion Terrell had his best coverage day of camp, and one rep of tight coverage held the play long enough for Cameron Thomas to come free for a coverage sack. That is a defense playing complementary football in early August. The complication is James Pierce Jr., and I want to be careful with this one. As a rookie, he led the Falcons and every first-year player in the NFL with 10.5 sacks, added 16 quarterback hits, and finished as a Defensive Rookie of the Year finalist. He was arrested in February, and his criminal charges are currently on hold while he completes a state intervention program in Miami. The NFL review remains open with no announced timeline. He is practicing. What the league eventually decides is not something anybody in Flowery Branch controls. Here's the part almost nobody is saying out loud. The man calling plays for this offense ran the lowest scoring offense in the entire NFL last season. Tommy Rees was the Cleveland offensive coordinator in 2025, and that unit averaged 16.4 points per game, which ranked 31st, and 262.1 yards per game, which ranked 30th. He took over play calling duties in Week 10 of a 2-6 season. Those are the actual numbers on the resume of the person now handling Bijan Robinson and Drake London. Let me be fair to Rees here, because context changes that picture substantially. Cleveland started 3 different quarterbacks last year, and 2 of them were rookies. What Rees actually did with young skill players is the tell. Harold Fannin Jr. caught 72 passes for 731 yards and 6 touchdowns as a rookie tight end, ranking 4th among all first-year players in receiving yards. Quinshon Judkins ran for 827 yards and totaled 998 yards from scrimmage. That is a coordinator who feeds young pass catchers and leans on a back, and Atlanta just handed him the best version of both. You could already see the scheme change on Monday. Scott Kennedy, who covers the team, noted that the ball went over the middle of the field more in that single padded practice than it did in any 5-game stretch last season. Drake London ran a skinny post at the hash marks. Tight ends were working the seams all morning. Atlanta averaged 20.8 points per game last year, while ranking 14th in total yards, and that gap between moving the ball and scoring is precisely the gap a new play caller is hired to close. Go pick by pick, because this draft class is doing more than a 5-pick class should. Atlanta had no first-round selection in 2026 at all. It was surrendered in the 2025 trade-up for James Pierce Jr., a deal that also returned the selection, which became safety, Xavier Watts. So general manager Ian Cunningham walked into his first draft with 5 picks, no first-rounder, and a roster with real holes at cornerback, linebacker, and tackle. Cornerback Avion Terrell came off the board at pick 48, and he has been splitting time between outside and the slot while pushing for the nickel job. Linebacker Kendall Daniels went at pick 134. Harold Perkins Jr. lasted until pick 215, which is where the value gets loud. Perkins had 7.5 sacks as a true freshman at LSU, finished his career with 220 tackles, 35.5 tackles for loss and 17 sacks, and tore a knee ligament in 2024 that pushed him down every board. Tackle Ethan Onyanwa closed the class at pick 231. And the rookie from the opening of this video is Zachariah Branch, taken 79th overall out of Georgia. Dane Brugler of The Athletic charted 78% of his career receiving yards as yards after the catch, with an average target depth of only 5.2 yards, which is a usage note rather than a talent note. Branch caught a 45-yard touchdown from Penix on the very first day of camp with A.J. Terrell and Jesse Bates III in the area, and he has been the most discussed player in Flowery Branch since. Look at the division, because the context here is genuinely absurd. 3 teams in the NFC South finished 8-9 last season. Carolina, Tampa Bay, and Atlanta all landed on the exact same record, and every single team in the division finished 3-3 in division play. Carolina took the title on a tiebreaker, its first NFC South crown since 2015. and the Panthers hosted a playoff game because of a three-way tie that Atlanta itself created by beating New Orleans in the final week. Run the counterfactual on that. One additional win at any point across those 17 games, and the tiebreaker math flips entirely in Atlanta's favor. That is how close this was, and it is also why the record lies a little. The Falcons sat at 4-9 with 4 games left, and then won all 4 of them. Even so, Atlanta has not won this division since 2016, the longest active drought of any NFC South team, and has now missed the playoffs 8 seasons in a row. There is one more wrinkle worth knowing. Zach Robinson, who called plays in Atlanta for the last 2 seasons, is now the offensive coordinator in Tampa Bay, which means a division rival employs somebody who knows this personnel intimately. The Falcons open on the road at Pittsburgh in Week 1, a building where this franchise has never won. Then come home to host Carolina in Week 2. The division schedule does not ease them in at any point this year. Now the money, because this is the storyline that will define the season. Drake London signed a 4-year extension worth $141.05 million with $100 million guaranteed. Kyle Pitts followed with 3 years and $54 million, including $36 million guaranteed at $18 million per year, which makes him the 3rd highest paid tight end in football. Add Matthew Bergeron at $96 million, and Atlanta committed $291.05 million to 3 players in roughly 2 months. Which brings us to the name that has been hanging over all of it. Bijan Robinson is holding in, meaning he reports to the facility every day and does not practice. He was a first-team All-Pro last season and led the entire NFL with 2,298 yards from scrimmage, including 1,478 rushing yards, 7 rushing touchdowns, and 79 catches for 820 yards and 4 receiving scores. He is making just under $7 million this year and is scheduled for $11.3 million on his 5th-year option in 2027. Saquon Barkley sets the market at $20.6 million per year. The standoff has a second party. Detroit's Jahmyr Gibbs is holding in for the same reason, and whichever back signs second almost certainly gets paid more, which is why neither side blinks. Kevin Stefanski was asked about it and said his job is to just coach the football team. Ian Cunningham described Bergeron as the type of player you build around, and Bergeron said staying in Atlanta means the world to him. Robinson is waiting on a sentence exactly like that one. The one thing that could undo all of this is right tackle, and it is a real problem. Caleb McGarry retired in April. Storm Norton is already out for the season. Jawan Taylor, signed specifically to start there, opened camp on the physically unable to perform list with no return date. Wanya Morris turned up late Monday in a knee brace, looking hobbled, so Michael Jarrell, Brandon Walton, and Ethan Onyanwa rotated through the spot in the first padded practice of the year, protecting the blind side of a left-handed quarterback. Compare that to the other end of the line. Atlanta led the entire NFL in 2025 with 61 first downs, generated from the left side, where Jake Matthews and Matthew Bergeron line up together, and Matthews is entering his 13th season as a starter. The offense has 3 extended stars, a rookie receiver forcing his way into the rotation, and a coordinator with something to prove. The defense set a sack record and got its coordinator back. FanDuel has this team's win total at 7.5 games, and I think that is low. Here's my call, and you are welcome to tell me I am wrong. Atlanta goes 10-7 and wins the NFC South for the first time since 2016, and the reason is that this division produced 3 teams at 8-9 last year, and nobody in it got meaningfully better. The Falcons already proved in Week 18 that they decide who wins this thing. Drop your win total in the comments and subscribe before the next one, because the moment Bijan Robinson signs, the number attached to it changes the running back market permanently, and we are breaking that down the same day.